Nation and Totally Medieval Nation. That's right. TM Nation, TM, almost TMI. Totally Medieval Nation and also Historical Conquest Nation. So HT Nation, TM Nation. I'm now going to show you Totally Medieval in its beta testing form. So if you are one of the beta testers, you're going to be able to see this video and see exactly how to play the game. I want to give you all the information and have you be able to play it. We have the rules that should be sent with, it'll be sent with everything else, but you'll also be able to play the game as it's supposed to be played. So to start off, you open up your decks. You have 3 different decks, or you actually have 5 different decks, but you have 3 different decks for the actual game. You have the Vikings, which will be on one side. You have the Knights, which will be on the other side. And you have the game cards. The game cards, there's 2 sections of these. One is these are the weather channels, the weather scenarios. So half of the game cards are weather and illness. They're all in the same stack. Put them right here. This, every turn, there's going to be a new weather pattern throughout the whole kingdom. Now, in addition to that, you have 7 different lands. These are called terrain cards. You have the Mountain Monastery, the Wandering Forest, the Deadly Lands Desert, the Cliffs of Insanity, Bountiful Hills, the Fire Swamp, Volcanic Mountains. Okay, yes, if you do like Princess Bride, you will recognize the Cliffs of Insanity and Fire Swamp. Not the same, but at the same time, when we came up with the names, that was the first thing that came to mind, and then someone pointed out later on, hey, that's from the Princess Bride. Okay, yes, there are some things that are similar in those 2 names. So, you take these land cards, you shuffle them, make sure you don't know which ones are which. This is what makes the game always different every time you play. Now, take one of your land cards, place it in, all 7 of them, in the spots right in the middle. All the rectangles on this board are meant for cards to lay on top of. Now the terrains are supposed to be in the 7 areas that are in the middle. This side's the Vikings, this side's the Knights. This is the terrain that you don't know what it is. The terrains will either help you or hinder you. They'll either give you harvest points or heal you, or they will send your guys to the discard pile or make them ill. All different things to do. You don't know what's happening here. So then you take the Viking set or the Knight set, whichever one you want to do first. There's amazing illustrations on these boxes. I'm very proud of how they came out. The first card you come to, this is the homeland. Each civilization has a homeland. The Vikings, it's the Viking territory. So you're going to place that in the rectangle right in the middle of your side. If you're the Vikings, you're going to be over here, your player B, with a homeland. All the rest of the cards shall be shuffled and then placed to your left. There are 3 types of cards in these, both the Knights decks and the Vikings decks, and all civilizations decks. There are harvest days. These are days to restock your harvest points. Every time you move or every time you attack, you actually lose a harvest point. And if you get down to 0, you cannot move and you cannot attack. You still are in existence, but every time you go a turn without a harvest, you lose a person to the discard pile. Speeds up the game at the end, right? If you run out of harvest, sorry. These restock cards are to help you restock your harvest points. So say you're down to 5 harvests, you pull up this harvest card. If you're the Vikings, you get an abundant amount of food, which there are 3 levels. If you ration your food, you get 5 harvest points. If you eat abundantly, you get 3, and if you're gluttonous, you only get 2 harvests. Okay, so for someone like the Knights, they'll actually get all 5. If they are the Vikings, they'll get the middle one, the abundant, because they eat abundantly. And if you're something like the Dragons, which we don't have in the game right now, but when we do, you'll only get 2, so you better be careful of that. All right, then there are, I'll come to that in just a second. For the Vikings, we have the dragon ships. These are like technology cards. These are cards that are not people, and they're not homeland or harvest cards. These are cards that do not travel on the board. When you grab these and you put it in play, you're allowed to play 1 card per turn. If you choose to do the dragon ship for the Vikings or the siege tower if you're the knights, you place it behind your deck. When you place it behind your deck, that means that you are holding on to it. You're not playing it right away, because the dragon ship is only used if you're battling on a coastal land. If you're the knights and you're battling another homeland, you can use the siege tower. But no one carries around a siege tower the whole way throughout their journey. They build it right outside the fortress, right? So just like the siege tower, you hold it back here, you hold it behind your deck, and then you bring it out when you're attacking the fortress. Now, you're only allowed 4 character cards in each land. When it comes to the siege towers, you can use as many as you build, which means as many as you have in play when you get to the fortress. Also, if you are the knights and you have a king, he can be the 5th card in your army, and I'll explain that just a little bit. Okay, so now comes the last type of card. These are the character cards. These are, you have 1 queen, which is this one. You have 1 king, which is Eric the Red for the Vikings. You then have, okay, without going through all of these, the most plentiful one will be the Viking Berserker, or for the Knights, it'll be the Knights Templar. These are basically your pawns. There's 8 of them, and you're able to use them to either rush through the territories and make sure you get the right territories to land on, because if you find a path that's going to keep killing you, you don't want to land on that path. You want to go the other way. So you place these cards shuffled and place them to the left of your homeland. Then take out your knights. Again, amazing packaging. I'm really proud of what they've done. Again, you start off with the homeland. Place the homeland right in the middle, and then you have everything else: the harvest, the kings, the characters, the siege tower. Place those to the left of your homeland. Now, to the right of your homeland is an empty rectangle. It's the only one that's left empty. That is your discard pile. Every time you discard a card, it'll go in that land. So now to start off the game, you grab 3 Vikings or 3 knights, and you hold those in your hand. Those are the cards that you're going to play down each turn, because you're allowed to play 1 card per turn. Then, so say I play the Viking Berserkers, then you're allowed to move 1 time. And you can either move 1 time or you can attack 1 time. You can't do both on the same turn unless the card allows you to. So let's say the Berserker moves up to the Fire Swamp. The Fire Swamp says, your strongest falls ill. Well, the strongest person in that land is my Viking Berserker. So he just got ill. Because he got ill, it is the perfect time to go heal him. There's 3 ways of healing. 3 ways for the Vikings, only 2 ways for the Knights. For the Vikings, they can, like the Knights, go back to their homeland. Homeland heals all your people. So anyone that's ill can go back unless the illness is uncurable, and I'll get to that in a second. Now, because he moved this turn to find this territory, he still has 1 turn to be able to return to his homeland to be healed. Or he can try to find what's called the Mountain Monastery. There are some terrains that actually allow you to be healed. In the abilities of the mountain terrain, or the Mountain Monastery, it actually says all visitors are healed. So if you're ill and you hit the monastery, you're healed. The final way is in the Vikings set, they have a priestess. It's basically the religious person. The Gothi priestess, her abilities say she may heal 1 Viking within her army. And that is one Viking per turn. So, if she's in the army when the person gets sick, he's automatically healed. If he has to meet up with her, then he's healed as soon as he lands on the same rectangle as her, the same terrain as her. So you can either go to the homeland, find the mountain monastery, or you can get your spiritual leader who may help you get healed. Now, for the Viking priestess, or for the Vikings, it's the priestess that will heal you. If it's the knights, they have a clergy, but he doesn't do that. He helps you in times of trying to move through different weather, such as fog and through hail and through rainfall. These are all ways that hinder your movement, and he's the one that will help you get through that. But let's go on. So say this Viking moves back here the next turn. Oh, actually, so because I played that one card, the Viking card, and then I moved him one time, I'm done with that turn. So then it's the knight's turn, where he grabs 3 cards, and he's going to play the knight's clergy. Plays it down, and then he finds one more land. Oh, great. This one actually says, Wanderer's Forest. Discard the weakest in your army. Of course, this is the weakest in that land. So he goes off to the discard. But now, next time, I know I'm not going to hit that one. I'm not going to land in that place a second time. But, fast forward, say I actually have 3 people in my homeland. Now, I can only have 4 characters in each land. Unless I have the king, and then I can have a 5th one. But with this, because I have 3 people here, I want to be able to move them. Now, each move that I move would drop me down in harvest points 1 point. What happens if I move 3 characters? Well, with 3 characters, I can actually move them all at the same time. Now, say I actually went into the Wanderer's Forest again. Well, my weakest would go to the discard. So that's 1. But now that somebody is actually situated in that, as long as someone stays in that land, that ability is not repeated. So if I go into the desert and one of my people wanders off, as long as I have someone in that land consistently, does not move ever from that land, because the next time someone moves out and a new set of people come in, that ability repeats. As long as you keep someone there, it will not repeat. Okay. Now, fast forward again. Let's say we move to another area. I'm trying to find one in particular. See, the desert loses 2 days of harvest. So instead of losing just 1, you lose an additional 2. Here it is. The Bountiful Fields. It says gain 1 day of harvest per turn. Now, say you have all your people in this one land. You keep playing people here, but you're not moving. If you have someone in the Bountiful Hills and is collecting a harvest every turn, you're continually increasing your harvest until you move. Say you move 1 turn, it goes down 1, and it goes automatically back up to 1 because you're restocking every turn. You're gaining 1 morale every turn. So, I'll go through a few more of the terrains. You have the Mountain Monastery, so it was right in the middle. We didn't know where it was. You have the Cliffs of Insanity. Your weakest is discarded. Pretty simply said. Then you have the Volcanic Mountains. This army may not move for 1 turn. Okay, there you go. So you have a nice rundown of how to move within the game. Let's set up a scenario. So let's say that the Vikings, there are 3 of them, are in, let's say, the Mountain Monastery. On the knight's side, you have, we'll say you have a clergy and 3 Knights Templar. I'm going to show you how to attack and defend your people. Now, here you have a card. One side says attack, the other side says defend. This does not come with the game. This is just an easy way of counting your points. You can print these online on our site, or you can just draw them on a separate sheet of paper. But these are the factors that you have to always look at when you're attacking or defending. If you're defending, you count up the defense points. Much like Historical Conquest, you have 2 numbers. One's attack points, the second's defense points. So if you have an army of 4 cards here, you count up all the attack points for all those cards. Or with defense, you count up all the defense points. Then you count up the terrain. Now on the the left side of the card, of these terrain cards, there is a number and a scenario. It says Coastal Dwellers plus 15. Means coastal dwellers, which are actually the Vikings, get plus 15 points if they're battling. Now, I can explain this. If they're battling in the Cliffs of Insanity. That means if, say I'm attacking the Cliffs of Insanity where the Vikings are, then we are battling in the Cliffs of Insanity. But say the Vikings are attacking me where the Knights are, we would not be attacking in the Cliffs of Insanity, we'd be attacking in the forest, which gives Forest Dwellers plus 15. If we're neither one, when we land on these terrains or when we battle in these terrains, we don't get terrain points. It goes to 0. Weather. Now, weather is a big thing I want to introduce. Every turn, there's a new weather pattern. I said that before, but this is what it means. There's blinding fog. There's blizzards. There's clear skies. There's cloud cover. There's hailstorms. Each of these might help you, might hinder you. The way to that these help you is they actually have abilities down here, the bottom part of the card, but they also have attack points and defense points. What is that? On your card, so if you're the Knights, all of your preferences are the same. The box up here, the darker box up here, is your preference. It has 3 preferences. Terrain, the Knights like the plains. So Battlefield Hills, if they fight in the plains, Plain Dwellers plus 12. Weather, every time the weather changes, it's going to tell you how much you get in weather. If you're attacking, you count the first box. If you're defending, you count the second box. It's called attack variance and defense variance. So if it's rainfall, if I like clear skies, if I'm the Knights and I prefer clear skies, I get a -5 if I try to attack. So it brings my attack down for attacking during a rainstorm. On the other hand, if I'm the Vikings and I like extreme weather, I get a +1. So it's a little, helps out the Vikings, hurts the Knights to attack during this kind of weather pattern. The Knights love the clear skies, and the clear skies are perfect for them. And the last one in the preferences is the harvest. It tells you how much you can harvest. Again, with the harvest card, it says harvest rations or harvest abundant or harvest gluttonous. The Knights are harvest rations, so they get more rations every time there's a harvest day. That's one of the advantages of Knights. There are also great advantages of being the Vikings, especially with a preference for extreme weather. Now, in these weather cards, or in the game cards, there are 2 cards called illness cards. There actually might be more. These cards are either, right now, it's either leprosy or the plague. That's right, leprosy or the plague. The plague makes you ill, and you have the exact same rules about getting healed. You can go to the homeland, you can go to the monastery, or if you're the Vikings, you can get healed by your priestess. If you conduct, and now when the weather pattern is chosen, at the beginning of every turn, you grab one weather pattern, you flip it over where both of you can see, because it affects both sides. So if all of a sudden you get the plague, both of you, one card from here, and it says, your strongest caught it. Use your transport to leave your ranks or all will catch it. 2 moves before death. Now, if it's an illness that comes from the swamp, it takes you 3 turns. If it's an illness that comes from the plague, you get 2 moves to be able to get to the monastery or to the castle, your homeland, basically. So whatever your homeland is, before you die. If you stay in the ranks of your other people, they will catch it as well. You don't want them to stay with the rest of your army. You want to get them separated. Because if they stay in for 1 turn, everybody else catches that illness. And in here, the variance, the attack variance and the defense variance, those actually tell you -10. So -10 points if you have the plague. Now, what about the leprosy? Leprosy, it says this, your strongest caught it. Use your transport to leave your ranks or all will catch it. Again, like the other one, but this is what it says. There is no cure and they must wander the rest of the game. It means they take up a spot for the rest of the turn, walking through anyone who lands. Now, not the weather card, not the game card, but the person that caught the leprosy, the strongest person. And the strongest person means your attack. Now, I had this pointed out, the strongest person, if their abilities say that they gain more strength by being away from their homeland, then they would be the strongest one if they're over 10 points. If you would count 10 points in their attack points when attacking somebody else. So if they have the highest attack, they would catch it. So they would leave the ranks. Now, if they land in something like the Cliffs of Insanity, Cliffs of Insanity says your weakest person goes to the discard. There you go. You solved the problem. You got them out of the way. We were also talking about the interesting scenario that if you play this game long enough and you go through the weather patterns enough, because you actually, when you're done with the weather, you use them all up. You turn them over. You shuffle them. You play them again. So what happens if you play Leprosy like 3 or 4 times? You created the first leprous army. It was a funny scenario because one of the players came up with this. He wanted to create the first leprous army, and he started attacking his opponents. They couldn't die just from from the illness. So they went around, even though it was -10, they were still kicking everyone's bottom. And they were winning everything. But they could never join another rank. They could never join another set of people. I hope you are able to understand this. In the end, the way that you win is you have to take over your opponent's homeland. If you take over the homeland of your opponent, you win the game. So if my Knight's army comes down here, I've got the siege tower, get extra points for attacking a fortress, I take out everyone in the fortress, I take the homeland, I win the game. Stay tuned though. Phase 2 of Historical Conquest is our competitive game. I can't wait to tell you more about it. Until then, I hope you're able to enjoy this. If you're beta testing this, please, we'd love to hear your thoughts, insights into everything Totally Medieval and what you think about the game. Any bugs you might find, write them down and send them to us, please. We want to hear everything that we should change before we send it to the printer, because we want to give you the perfect game. We don't want a TM 2.0. We want it all settled the first time, so that this game doesn't have to continue, doesn't have to upgrade, doesn't have to change at all, but continue to go to the next phase. Because the next phases are not changes to the rules. They're not changes to things that we got wrong, bugs, things like that. They're the next part of the game. I can't wait to tell you more. So stay tuned, and we'll talk to you later. Take care. Have fun with our Whatever Wednesday. I think you'll like this one. It's whatever. I don't know. You'll have to find out. So check us tomorrow. Take care. Bye. Wait! Don't stop yet. I know I just closed it out, but I wasn't done. Actually, I just figured out that I had forgotten a very important part is finishing up these cards. So we talked about your attack points and defense points. We talked about the terrain points, the weather points. Again, the variation that comes from these 2 boxes up here. So if you're attacking, you get these variances. If you're defending, you get these variances. It says it right on the card. But what about illness cards, or illness points? As I said, if you have leprosy in your group, you get a -10 for your group, for the whole group. You just get once. So leprosy, -10. Illness, -10. Either way, if you have a rank of somebody that's ill and they're attacking you within the turn that he got ill, it's a -10, but then the rest of your group won't catch illness. Also, your attackers will not catch leprosy, will not catch an illness that the land that they're attacking has. Basically, if they kill them off, they'll get rid of them. Nobody gets ill with the attackers. The only way of catching that same illness is if you're in the same land as with the person that's ill. So it'd have to be from the same civilization. And the last one is dice cards. Dice cards are these cards. These are patent pending. We thought that somebody had created these at some point, but come to find out they had not. Now, if you're above Algebra 1, go ahead and use dice. This is a game is made so you can use dice. It's not going to stop the game. It's not going to hurt the game at all. But if you're between adding and subtracting and Algebra 1, try out our dice cards. This is a way of using math in this game. These cards are very cool for so many reasons. 2 of them are the fact that 1, you can take these cards out of this game and use them in any game. If you want to play Monopoly with dice cards, you can do that. And you can practice your math at the same time that you're having a fun game. The reason why that's fun, you might look at it and it's like, wait a second, I don't want to do that. The reason why it's fun is you don't even think about you doing math. You see the equation, you solve it quickly, and you get on with the game. But at the same time that you're doing that, you're doing exactly what you were doing in school, but having fun doing it. And you will not Depending on if you focus on it, you will see it. But if you don't focus on it, you won't see that you're actually enjoying doing math, because you're not thinking about it. You're not being forced to do it. You're having fun playing a game. And you'll learn these so much faster through something that you enjoy than meaningless repetition that you do in school. So maybe, think of it this way. So here's the thing. Grab your dice cards, bring them to school, and say, hey teacher, can we play some games in class? Games in class? Yeah, I want to do repetition with math. Adding, subtracting, and such, using dice cards. They're like flashcards, but if you get the answer right, at the bottom, it tells you what the answer is, and then right next to it, it tells you what the roll is, the points that you'd get if you got it right. So, that is an option. Well, okay, it's not an option. For this game, this is what creates the math adventure. But here's the great thing. So, player A could be learning adding and subtracting. Player B could be learning algebra 1. They can play the exact same game. So you're playing against a student that's really young, and you're like in your 18, 19, 20-year-old, and you play against them, they could still win. This levels the playing field because you're both at an advantage or a disadvantage based on your skills with math. So this adds a huge portion to this game because it adds less risk and more skill. If you're more skilled at math as a first grader doing adding up subtracting than you are as a college student doing algebra 1, which algebra 1 is not really a college level, then if they're better at it, then they're gonna win. They have a good possibility. Because here it has how it plays. If you get the roll right, you get the points. If you don't get the roll right, you don't get the points. If you go play this in Monopoly, if you get the roll right, great, you get the points. If you don't get the move. In Monopoly, every move matters, right? Especially at the beginning of the game. Okay, wait a second. I can see you playing Monopoly. I know how your minds think. And the first thing you're thinking is, well, with Monopoly, at the end of the game, I don't want to move. So I'm going to get them all wrong. Doesn't work that way. Maybe at the end of the game, when you get to a certain point, you can flip it and say, if you get it wrong, you don't get the points. If you get it wrong, you have to move a certain amount of points. If you get it right, you don't have to move. I don't know, make it interesting. This is not the game of Monopoly. You figured that out. I'm just giving you the tools in order to do this. These are patent pending. They've never been done before, which blows my mind that no one ever tried. Dice cards. Dice cards in the form of math. And this is any level. Up to Algebra 1 right now, but we'll be doing Algebra 2, we'll be doing Calculus. Problem is, and this is the reason why we haven't gone above Algebra 1, as the equations get longer, and the longer the equations take to solve, the longer the game takes to get through a turn. And that's when this repetition becomes burdensome. This is when it just becomes boring to get through, and the game then becomes boring. We don't want that to happen. So right now it's Algebra 1. When we figure out a way of doing Algebra 2, geometry, and everything up to calculus, great, we will add those parts to it. As of right now, Algebra 1, that's it. But you take the roll, the points that you got for answering it right, you add that to your dice cards, and then you have the total right underneath it. The person with the highest number wins the battle. If my knights are attacking your Vikings, there we go. My knights are attacking your Vikings, and the Vikings have a higher amount. Unlike the game of Historical Conquest, the knights will lose a card. Doesn't matter who loses. Whoever loses a card. Loses one character from their card. And you can only attack once per turn. Unless the card says differently, you can attack once per turn, and that card goes to the discard. This can actually create cause for a longer game, so we have an option too, where you can attack twice per turn. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, or in your description of what you think about the game. What do you think is better? Only attacking once per turn, or attacking twice per turn? Play it out, see what you think, give us some feedback. We'd love to hear about that. That's one of the things that we're questioning right now, how we should have that work. Everything else is really close to being there. We want to make it 100% because we know that we're just one side of the coin. We want the customers to be able to see it, play it, go through the rules, see what they understand, see what they don't understand, and give us the feedback before we send this to the printers. So the first time we print it, we can have 100% near perfect or perfect game. So thanks for joining us on this Tutorial Tuesday on Totally Medieval. So thank you HT Nation, and thank you TM Nation for joining us. We'll catch you next time on a Whatever Wednesday. Take care. If you have any comments or questions, add them to the comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow actually. Take care. Bye.